Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Linus from HCIS. I would like to start my presentation by posing this question. Excuse me, are you blind? Imagine if someone came up to you and asked you that exact question one day. Funnily enough, in the days before my presentation, when my friends found out the title of my presentation, the only question they could ask me is, Linus, are you blind? As a joke. So the answer to this question is quite obvious. And to most of you, the answer will be no. How does this relate to me? Although I might not be blind, since birth, I have suffered from colorblindness. I was officially diagnosed as colorblind around the age of 9 when I took the colorblind test. More about my colorblindness. I am red-green deficient, and what this means is I often mistake red with either orange or yellow, or green and green with the color brown. Other symptoms would include blue and purple being frequently confused, pink looks extremely similar to gray, and on a general basis, colorblind people can only see 2.5% of all shades of colors. So this is essentially a colorblind test. So non-colorblind people should be able to see of numbers or trace a certain line, and I would certainly like to point out the numbers, except I can't see them. And I did ask one of my friends in the audience to identify the numbers for me, but I have the suspicion that he just lied to me about the numbers. You should be able to see a number. However, if you do, on the right side, if you see the number 21, congratulations, you are probably colorblind. Although the physical disability is vastly different between colorblind and blind people, they both share common trait between them. Before I go more into detail, I would like to introduce a certain person. This is Tommy Edison, and he has been blind since birth. So Tommy runs a YouTube channel answering common questions that people have on being blind. In one of his videos, he was asked the question, how his parents told him that he was blind. So in the video, Tommy mentions how in his whole life, being blind is normal to him. Similarly, for me, a colorblind person such as myself, being blind to a certain spectrum of colors is completely normal for me. That is the common trait between blind and colorblind people, their perception of what is normal. As Tommy mentioned, his version of normal is being blind. He was born blind, and since birth, not having the sense of sight is all he knew. Now, there are two types of handicaps, physical handicaps and mental handicaps. Tommy and my handicaps will be classified under physical handicaps. There is simply nothing we can do to solve our handicaps. We cannot simply learn or work hard to solve any of our handicaps. We were born with it. On the other hand, mental handicaps are a completely different manner. Now, these mental handicaps do not involve any mental illnesses or anything of the sort. A completely working and functioning brain can still easily be handicapped. So, going back to the video, Tommy talks about his idea of being normal, being blind. So, what is your perception of normal? Normal, by definition, is the conforming to an expected behavior or expected reaction. Perception, as many of you know, can easily be skewed. The idea of normality is subjective. Every person has each of their own definitions of what is normal to them. Many factors can affect this perception, be it past experiences, cultural upbringing, social conventions, or simply due to habits. However, more often than not, what you deem normal might not actually be normal. Humans form habits, get used to certain actions in their life. This leads to occasional blindness of sorts towards certain things in life. To these people, they are living a completely normal life. However, their perception is completely skewed. So this moves on to the next question. How do you know if you are abnormal or not normal? Well, most of the time, it is your family, friends, or people close to you that are the ones that help you move back from being abnormal. Certain experiences that you experience also help you move back from being abnormal. More often than not, you require these catalysts to change. It may not be obvious to ourselves that we are behaving abnormally, and at times, it might even be difficult for those close to us to convince us that we are indeed abnormal. Drawing a parallel to Tommy, as I've said before, people tend to see everything as normal due to their skewed perception of what is normal to them, and thus are unable to see the obvious that other people see in them. This situation seems pretty manageable. As I've said, with those around you helping you in times of need, when you are abnormal, be it your parents, your friends. However, the bigger issue here being addressed is, what if everyone together was blind together with you? Imagine everyone around you being blinded by their cultural upbringing and social conventions surrounding them. No one would be there to guide you back to so-called normality because, well, at that point of time, what you are doing is defined as normal. In this world, everyone around you shares the same beliefs, intuition, and sees everything around them as normal, even if in reality, it is not. A simple example from ancient times would be slavery. In the past, it was considered a norm to own a slave, and slavery was widely practiced around the world. No one would look at you funny or show any signs of disapproval if you had a slave. As we know, slavery was eventually abolished and is no longer considered a norm. However, there are still modern-day cases of this, where culture, stereotypes, developed intuition, and past experiences form a clear image of what is normal and what is not. So, I came across a social experiment done by a few YouTubers regarding people's reactions to child abuse. So in this social experiment, there were two families, a white family and a black family. Both families openly hurt their children in the public in the exact same way, but got two completely different reactions from the public. So on the right is the white family, and on the left is the black family. So the white family was immediately bombarded with people trying to stop them from hurting the child. Whereas for the black family, no one did a thing. Even when the child was abused right next to them, they simply looked at the child or looked away, refusing to admit anything was wrong. This shows that there is a certain blindness towards many things around our lives. They are mostly undetectable by most people, as to them it is normal, and are thus dismissed by the majority of people. Now, there is a saying, and I can't read the person's name who said the saying, so I'm just going to call him DE. Mr. DE. Mr. DE said, "In the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king." What this essentially means is that amongst a vast majority of people with disabilities or disadvantages, the person with the mildest or least disadvantage is regarded as the greatest or as the king. Therefore, in the world of so-called blindness of people towards their surroundings and certain actions around them, will you be part of the land of the blind, or will you be the one-eyed man who is king? Now, the most important question of the presentation, and it's also the title of my presentation, excuse me, are you blind? I hope that all of you will start to see the world in a different light, realizing the abnormalities of the so-perceived world around us, so-perceived normal world around us. I believe that everyone here is capable of being the catalyst of change for many of those blind people out there. Thank you.